Before we get going in today's video, I would love to hear where you are watching this video from around the world. So let me know in the comment section down below before we get started in today's video. Let me know what country you're watching from. There's been some crazy countries to see where you are watching my channel from. So welcome back to another video on the channel today. Today, I don't need to say it, we're talking about Wrexham Football Club. We've got an interesting video today. We're going to be talking about our co-owner Rob McElhenney and his plans going into this League One season, what his ambitions are. We're going to be talking about signings. I've got a surprise about the signings in today's video. We're going to be analysing our latest free agent signing, doing a loan watch and just talking everything about the football club. But before we get going in today's video, if you would like to see more Wrexham AFC content on YouTube, and if you haven't subscribed already, this is the place to be. Make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. We are on the road to 26,000 subscribers, so any support, if you're new as well watching this and you haven't subscribed already, if you could click that subscribe button, would be massively appreciated. And of course, it will be on screen here. I say it every video, and rightly so. Thank you to everyone who has supported the channel further over the past couple of weeks. It massively means a lot. You know, as we go into a big season for the channel, you know, I want to make the most out of this year for the channel. I want to produce the best possible content, whether that be upgrading the equipment, the camera, the microphone, etc. All of your donations are going towards that, so I cannot thank you enough for everyone who supported further. So without further ado, let's get talking about the first topic, which is of course Rob McElhenney. Now, recently in a Men in Blazers video on YouTube, we saw Rob McElhenney was interviewed and was asked about his thoughts going into this season and what the aims were going into this season, because I think it's fair to say everyone going into this season, whether you're a Wrexham fan or not, was sort of questioning how would Wrexham approach this season. Would they go all out like we've seen us do in the National League and slightly in League Two? Would we want to go all out and try and win the league and get that promotion to the Championship back to back? And a lot of people were obviously saying it's a massive step, of course, going from League Two to League One, and if we're going back to back from League One to the Championship, it requires more funding. It's just a whole different ball game in terms of finances. Although we still do stand at the top of League One, I still think that immediate step up to the Championship would be very drastic in terms, like I said, in finances. And this brings us on to what Rob McElhenney did say in his interview. Now, he has said before the start of the season, he got the whole team together, everyone involved in Wrexham, and this is something we will see on the documentary, of course, before the League One campaign, to discuss the plans for the upcoming League One season. And he said he had two options. The first option being invest in the infrastructure and go for the marathon, the long run, or two, go for it all, invest in the infrastructure and try and win the league. And of course, with it being Rob McElhenney, we should know him by now. He's been our owner for nearly 4 years. We know which option he'd have gone for. He went for option B, but talks were slowed down quickly when the finances were involved, and how much it would cost to get promotions to the Championship was revealed to Rob. Cough cough, Birmingham City. We've seen how much they've spent. It would probably take millions of pounds to get promoted. Don't get me wrong, Birmingham City have well overspent what a team should be spending if they're looking to win the League One title. Of course, it's a long project at Birmingham City, but spending £35 million in League One is just ridiculous. And of course, they won't be the figures that were quoted to Wrexham in terms of promotion. It would have probably been more, maybe 6-7 million. Of course, we've seen Wrexham spend 1.4 million in this transfer window. It could have even been less than that, but you see the players we've brought in now, and you see that the squad that we've already got, it's more than capable of succeeding in League One. And of course, like I've just said, we're going into this season in a very strong position. I think that's something Rob and Ryan, everyone involved in the club, understood going into this season, that yes, signings were needed, but if we are to make signings, they're going to be ones that are going to add depth, or, you know, going to add that much needed competition to certain areas on the pitch. And this is why Rob said they're still going to go for the title this year, and I think that's definitely a realistic approach. You've seen the signings that we brought in this start, and you could maybe have said that at the start of the season as well. But of course, you've got to dream big in football. You've got to have that dream of winning promotion. I think that's something Rob and Ryan have done a lot. You know, they dream of taking Wrexham up to the Premier League, and I don't think this dream is very unrealistic. Seeing the start we've got, seeing the squad that we've assembled, seeing the squad that we've had already going into League One without any signings, you know, we've planned for the long term with the signings that we've made in the National League, in League Two. We've got Phil Parkinson. He's had a couple of years under his belt to understand the fans, the squad, the philosophy, the culture of Wrexham Football Club, bring the style of play to the club, get the players developed into his playing style, playing for the fans, playing for the badge. Everything just seems to be coming together at Wrexham Football Club to have, you know, a really successful season again. And I'm not saying that we're going to be up there winning the league at the end of the season, but the signs are there. We've got the players, we've got the manager, we've got the squad. What is stopping Wrexham from having a really successful season, which could end up in playoffs? Yeah, and I think that's something else important to note as well. Of course, Rob and Ryan did first come into the club in February 2021. Of course, they made those 2 initial signings before they were even owners of Wrexham, which showed, you know, how invested they were early doors. Tyler French and Dior Angus, I think it was, in the January transfer window. So that's something to note. And I think something else to note is the transfer strategy that has been developed into Wrexham Football Club since the day these two took over is something I think is really, really smart, and something that, of course, we planned for the long term, which I touched upon in my recent video, you know, discussing Phil Parkinson. And looking at our lineup from our last game against Shrewsbury in League One, 6 of the players signed for Wrexham when we were in non-league / played for us in non-league. Of course, Max Cleworth has come through the academy, so over half of the team were playing for us when we were in non-league, and I think it just shows, you know, how much players and Rob and Ryan were invested into this project early on, and how much they wanted to see that immediate success. Yes, okay, they wanted to get out of the National League as soon as possible, but they've also thought about the long term for Wrexham. They've brought players in who we'd have paid 10 times more now if we wanted to sign them in the current day. You know, you think the likes of Ryan Barnett, Tom O'Connor, Owen O'Connell, you know, these players, we'd have paid 10 times the transfer fee that we'd have paid for them. I think this is something that has played a really key part to our success, you know, in the long term, and this is one of the reasons why we are in League One now. You know, we've developed these players, we've signed them, you know, early on into this project at Wrexham, and it's massively paid off for us. And talking of signings, let's rank every signing for the summer transfer window of the 24-25 season. This is going to be interesting. We've signed quite a few players, we've had some absolutely incredible signings. You're probably going to disagree with me, probably on 1 or 2, which is not really a shock, but yeah, let's get ranking the first player. Arthur Okonkwo, A-star. We're probably starting off with what was our best signing of the summer transfer window. Of course, we know all about Arthur. He had a fantastic season for us in League 2 last year, getting into the season 14 clean sheets and probably proven to be one of the best goalkeepers in League 2. And I go as far as saying he's probably one of the best up-and-coming goalkeepers in the whole of the EFL. He showed some really promising signs. He is destined for the very top of the English game. And of course, you know, we've got him tied down for 3 years on a free transfer. Of course, he'll probably be on a bumper wage, one of the higher earners at the club, because we're not probably going to be hiding the fact that a lot of clubs were looking at Arthur Okonkwo. But the fact that we've able to secure his signing, we've heard Rob speak about this. He had a phone call with Arthur for a couple of hours when he was on holiday, which, you know, has probably got him over the line at Wrexham. Phil Parkinson, he's been at the club as well for a whole season. So this is a massive signing for us, not only for the current day and the current season, but for the future years ahead at Wrexham. This is a big signing, and probably, like I said, our best of the transfer window. Callum Burton, I've given a C. Now, definitely one of the better backup goalkeepers in the league, and I think that's something that he knew. He was coming into Wrexham to be that backup goalkeeper for Arthur Okonkwo, but you know, don't get me wrong, he's coming in as probably, you know, could be a starter for any League One club in this division. To have him as our backup, you know, he's really good, and I think he'd definitely do a solid job if Arthur was to get injured at any point this season. We got him on a free. He's looked good in the EFL Trophy. He looked good against Sheffield United. So overall, I think this is a decent signing from Parky. Ollie Rathbone, B. Now, of course, we paid a record transfer fee for Rathbone, and you know, I think he looked good against Shrewsbury. He started his first league game for us at home to Shrewsbury Town. Plenty of running, a terrier in that midfield, and I think he'll be a good asset for us this season, whether he's starting every single game or coming off the bench and providing that competition in the midfield spot. Of course, he's been promoted before from League One to the Championship. He brings that wealth of experience into the dressing room. He's a top quality player all round, and this is a signing that I think was very strategic from Phil Parkinson. Dan Scarr, I've given a B now, a signing that will probably prove to be very important, you know, as the season goes on and as time goes on at Wrexham this season in League One. One, because I think he's just probably one of the best backup defenders you can find in this division, and two, because, you know, if someone gets injured in our backline, whether it be O'Connell, Max Cleworth, you're thinking, oh, who are we going to bring in? Last year it was maybe a bit of a toss-up between Aaron Hayden or, you know, Ben Tozer. Now we've got Dan Scarr, a serial promotion winner in League One, a player that's gained massive experience over the past couple of seasons. He'll come into this team, he'll come in, he'll bring that experience, he'll be a very solid defender for us when called upon. We've seen him in the EFL Cup, we've seen him in the EFL Trophy. He's showed some good signs, but once he gets a good string of games under his belt, I think this is going to be a really good signing, and one that will prove to be, like I said at the start, a big one going into the latter stages of this season, possibly. Of course, he provides that much needed depth and competition in that centre-back spot. Lewis Brunt, I've given a C. Now, this is definitely a strange one for me because, you know, it's probably a high NC for Lewis Brunt, looking at his age and looking at his season last year, and, you know, sort of looking at the potential that Lewis Brunt does have. And I think this is a good signing as well, considering we fought off other League One clubs for his signature. Like Scar, we haven't seen him feature in the league yet, and I think he spoke out in an interview the other day saying that he understands that he's not been playing because of how well that back line has been playing for us, and he knows he has to fight for his spot at that centre-back role, which, yeah, is understandable. He's 23, seems to have a good head on his shoulders, so hopefully he'll continue to develop, you know, in training, and hopefully get a string of games under his belt. If I'm right in saying, I don't even think we've seen him in a matchday squad in League One, so does that just highlight how much depth we have in this team now, especially in the defence? You know, I think he's going to play a role for us in the long run. He's 23 years old. He's on a 3-year contract. He's going to be a big player for us, and he's going to be one that Phil Parkinson sees as a player that he's going to develop and will, you know, be a starter eventually as the years go on. Can't really comment too much, of course. We've only seen him play in that 4-2 defeat to Sheffield United, which got on rating of 4.7 against them. So I think that's definitely a bit harsh, but we've barely seen Lewis Brunt kick a ball for Wrexham, so I think it's really too early to comment too much on Lewis Brunt. Seb Revan, I've given a B. Now, I think Revan has showed some really promising signs for us in the minutes that he has featured for us so far this season. He flies down that flank, whether it be on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. Just 21 years old, I think he's got big potential and could be a big player for us going into the future years ahead at Wrexham. If his crossing can slightly improve in his final product, I think he'll become a real key asset for us. I'm a big fan of this signing, and I think that's sort of, you know, been the trend for Wrexham in this transfer window. We've signed a couple of younger players that are going to play a role in the future for us, and Revan is a prime example of that. Mo Fall, I've given a C now. It's very early to comment on Mo Fall, as we've only seen him play that EFL Trophy match against Salford City, and we know that he's a striker that's got potential and that's a natural goal scorer, as we've seen at his spells at Doncaster and Walsall. And something that I just can't wrap my head around is everyone that's moaning at him on Twitter saying it's the worst debut they've seen in Wrexham history. What an absolute strange thing to post, and what an absolute weird thing to say. He's young, he's 21 years old, he's still learning in the game of football, he's still continuing to develop, and to slate a player that early on is just, I just don't get it. I really do not get it. And he's been with us for 3 weeks. Why on earth are we getting on his back and having a go at him? I'm speechless. I really do not know why people are doing this, but, you know, he's got a good environment that he'll continue to develop in at Wrexham. You know, he's surrounded by a good group of players, and like I said, he's learning as the days go by. And don't get me wrong, it probably wasn't the debut that Mo Fall wanted, but he's 21, he's going to be a good player for us in the years ahead. So Mo Fall, C, and I really do hope Fall can be a big player for us. George Dobson, A. Now, I think I've probably left the best player till last. Now, George Dobson, you know, he's going to give Arthur a run for his money as time goes on as being the best transfer of the summer transfer window. He's added so much quality to this team already, whether that's his passing, he can read the game really, really well, and of course he's not afraid to get stuck in the midfield either. And I think his IQ as well, his football knowledge is just so big in that midfield. He knows when to make that pass, he knows when to go in for that tackle, and, you know, he's just a very, very intelligent player, and one that we're so lucky to have in that midfield. And like I said, he's been one of the standout players for Wrexham, and he's been one of the standout players in League One in general so far this season. So George Dobson deservedly gets an A, and it probably could push to an A star if he continues this brilliant rich vein of form. Yeah, and you're probably thinking, where's the Josh Adam ranking? Yes, we signed Josh Adam a couple of weeks ago. I'd just done a video, I'd just done like a 15-16 minute video talking about Josh Adam, how he could be signing, and I'd edited it. I was sat there waiting for the video to go live. Oh, Wrexham announced the signing of Josh Adam. I sat there and I just could not believe my eyes, because I've got 2 whole pages of notes written down on Josh Adam and the type of player he is. So I think now is the perfect time to get talking about him. Right, so starting on Josh Adam now. Yes, these notes in front of me I did about 2-3 weeks ago, but better late than never. Josh Adam now is a player that many Celtic fans believed would be the next big talent for the Scotland national team. Now, he played 99 times for Man City's youth setup over his spell at the club, recording 30 goals and assists in his 4-year stay at the Citizens. Now, in May 2024, there was a big moment for Josh Adam. Adam was called up for first team training, where he was coached by probably one of the best managers of all time, Pep Guardiola, playing alongside the likes of Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden. This was ahead of their game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. I don't think he was in the matchday squad, but, you know, he's obviously showed some really promising signs in the youth setup at Man City that Pep Guardiola's seen him and thought there's a good player in Josh Adam. So it was an unfortunate end for Josh Adam at Man City as well. Despite having 4 really successful seasons, he was not offered a professional contract and wasn't offered a new contract at Man City. We all know there's a good player and a promising player in Josh Adam, but I think it's clear to see that first team opportunities at Man City, no matter who you are, you could be probably one of the best Championship players and you still wouldn't get a game for Man City. The depth, the quality that they have in that team is ridiculous, and you've got Phil Foden, you've got Rico Lewis. It's going to take 1 in 300-400 youth players to break into that Man City first team and be a key player, and it's not really a shock that Josh Adam wasn't offered a new contract. So now is his time to transition into men's football. He's 21 years old, he's going to want to make that step into the men's game now, and he's done exactly that with signing for Wrexham on what we can imagine is going to be a 2-year deal. Of course, he signed that initial 1 year and there's the option to sign that 2-year, and I think he will have a successful stay at Wrexham and then will progress and sign that extra year. Now, of course, we've seen Josh Adam as well. He's played a couple of EFL Trophy games for Manchester City in the EFL Trophy, of course, against some professional teams. So he's gained that slight amount of experience in the men's game. But if we're looking at Adam's style of play, now having read a report on Josh Adam published by Manchester City, Adam is said to have worked really well in tight spaces of play, constantly looking for that forward pass, and as we've seen by his stats, he has a really good eye for goal. 30 goals and assists. He's that playmaker. He can create the chance, but he can score goals. I think I saw one of his goals against Manchester United youth team, just bends it into the top corner. And yes, you could say, youth football is completely different to the men's game, but if you've got that bit of flair about you, if you can put that pop shot into the top corner, then there's no reason why he can't do that in the men's game. He's said to be also very versatile in that midfield and is capable of doing various midfield roles. Now, if we're looking at last summer, 2023, Josh Adam had a really good year for Manchester City youth. He was on the verge of leaving with Lille, Club Brugge, Lorient in France and a few other Bundesliga teams. All of those were interested in signing Josh Adam. They all wanted to secure the services of the highly rated young midfielder, but Manchester City kept him on because they obviously saw there was a good player in Josh Adam, one that could possibly play a role for them in the upcoming years. But impressively, a year on from all that speculation, Wrexham have secured his services. Little old Wrexham have signed Josh Adam. It's a very exciting move for us as the fans, for Josh Adam, for the club. I really do hope we can see Josh Adam succeed and become, hopefully, the next big talent at Wrexham. And as well, we've seen Josh Adam speak on his possible move abroad last year, saying very early on that he was enthused at the prospect of moving abroad to play. So I think we've worked wonders behind the scenes to get this happening. I'm not really too sure what's happened in that space of a year to see that, Lille, Club Brugge, all those big name clubs in their countries not wanting him all of a sudden. I think they'll have probably maybe been turned off a bit by the fact they had their bids rejected last summer. So Wrexham have jumped straight in. He's been training with the club for the past couple of weeks and we've secured his services a couple of weeks on, and let's hope we can see him feature possibly in the matchday squad in the upcoming games ahead. This is definitely a signing that we're not really used to at Wrexham. We're not really seen to be signing, players from under 21s, under 23s. So it's something different that we're seeing at Wrexham, and I think this just does fit with the trend of the transfer window that we've had. Bringing in Lewis Brunt, Arthur Okonkwo, Seb Revan. We're injecting that youth. The future is there in the hands of these players coming into Wrexham Football Club, and there's a lot of hype around him from Celtic and Man City fans. So let's hope we've got an absolute gem on the books in Josh Adam. Now, moving on to the loan watch. Now, a couple of you wanted this in the next video. You enjoyed it when I did the loan watch in the last one, so we're back with the loan watch. We've got 3 players that are out on loan at different clubs from Wrexham Football Club, of course, that we're going to be talking about, starting off with Billy Waters. Waters has featured twice for Halifax Town in the National League since signing on loan from Wrexham until January. He's featured for 80 minutes away at Hartlepool and 67 minutes at home to Oldham Athletic on Tuesday night. Waters is still yet to get off the mark at the Shaman, but it's just good to see Billy Waters getting that game time. Of course, we saw it at Doncaster Rovers last year. He played the first couple of games and just wasn't selected, but that's nothing down to Billy Waters, I'm sure. Doncaster went on that really good run of form and it was probably hard for him to get into the lineup, but he's playing regularly for Halifax. He knows the environment at them, and let's just hope he can continue getting that regular game time, and goals on top of it would be even better. Luke McNicholas now, yes, it's very unfortunate what we've seen happen to McNicholas. He suffered an injury which will keep him out for a few weeks. Rochdale have brought in a short-term replacement for McNicholas, but of course we saw he had such a good start to the season. Let's hope he can get back into the team, keeping clean sheets and providing some really good performances for Rochdale, as I think they sit second in the National League. Jake Bickerstaff. Now Bickerstaff has been gaining some really valuable minutes at Altrincham in the National League. He's played 150 plus minutes at Alty over the 3 games that he's been at them. He's still yet to hit the back of the net, but I'm sure once Bickerstaff scores 1 goal, it will all flood in for him, and let's hope that can be the case, and you know, he's getting valuable minutes and it's good to see. So yeah, that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, of course. If you would like to support the channel further, it will be in the description down below. Subscribe, do all that good stuff. Check out my new EFL channel. We've hit 1,000 subscribers, so I cannot thank you enough for that. And yeah, bring on the big one on Monday night away at Birmingham City. Probably the biggest League One game we'll have this season, and probably one of the most expensive ones we'll see of all time, and that's mostly down to Birmingham City. So yeah, like I said, if you enjoyed, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you in another video. Until then, take care guys, up the town.